Welcome back to the home of Peter Pan lore and Peter Pan fact here on YouTube. Today I'm going to be doing what has been requested quite a lot. I've done a mini version over on my TikTok, but today we're going to do a much more long form version. We're going to be reacting to the brand new trailer for the upcoming horror movie, Peter Pan, Nightmare Neverland. Let's just dive straight in and watch it, shall we?
Wakey, wakey. Peekaboo.
How did you get down there?
I'm Peter.
Absolutely fundamentally you are not. This is not Peter Pan at all. I love the crow, but this makeup is very weird and unnecessary, and you're about 15, 20 years too old to be Peter Pan, my guy. All right, moving on.
It's nice to meet you.
Okay, immediately I dislike the fact that we are taking children down. If it's supposed to be Peter Pan, then why are you not taking them out of the window? Especially because later on in this movie, it is established that at least someone can fly. Feet leave the floor. There's a shot of that later. So why are you not taking them out of the window? It's like the iconic scene. It actually even comes from the original story, which is unusual for adaptations. But the idea of Peter leaving the nursery window and the children flying out, that comes from the source material. Every adaptation has this. They fly out of the window, so why not this?
When Timmy went missing, what do you remember?
Oh yes, there's a circus in this.
And he must act now to take the children with him.
It's time to collect.
It's time to collect. I don't understand this idea. I don't understand the idea of this collection and taking them for a reason. When I keep seeing the circus in this, and I should be excited because I used to work in a circus, I am excited to see that, but the thing I keep thinking about with this trailer is that it feels more Pinocchio than Peter Pan, and if you're going to do a dark retelling, then if you're going to be taking children to a circus, then surely that piece of Pinocchio, that's what you should be doing it with. Also, it's lacking any magic so far, but I'll talk more about that in a minute, and I mean literal magic.
Oi, freak! You gonna pay for that?
Alright, the stabbing and the death I can get behind, and there is quite a lot of blood in this trailer. So the stabbing and the blood and the death, yeah, that's very source material. That is very true to the original story. There is a lot of blood and death, so that I'll give them a point for, but I don't think that they did it because it's in the original story. I genuinely believe that these people think that by adding the blood and the death and the gore, they're adding something new, when actually they're not. Oh, and look, the bike's gonna go over the hip.
Do you know what I have?
Don't worry about Michael. I'm gonna take him to Neverland.
And again, they're using the names of these characters, like Michael and Peter and Captain Hook's on the cast list as well. So I'm bemused as to why they're bothering. This could be a perfectly creepy horror movie. You don't need to use these names at all. It bears no resemblance to the original story whatsoever. Oh yes, and then we have the bus moment. And it's basically just ripping off Jared Leto's the Joker and Heath Ledger's the Joker, and look, it's a creepy guy approaching a bus full of school kids. It's not feeling very original.
Who wants to come to Neverland?
Okay, at this point, this particular scene, he sounds like that guy from Peep Show. I'm gonna have to go look this up 1 second. Robert fucking Webb, that's who he sounds like. Listen, just listen to this again.
Who wants to come to Neverland with me?
What's the matter? I thought you liked pork.
It sounds like Robert Webb, I'm sorry. I actually looked up the cast list to discover to my shock and horror that it was not Robert Webb. There you go, yeah, see the feet flying.
Send the kids to Neverland and protect them from this world.
In a place where you can be a little boy for the rest of your existence.
And this I take issue with as well, because at no point does Peter Pan ever say to anyone, come with me to the Neverland where you'll never grow up. He doesn't say it because it's not what happens there. It's not true. So definitely these people have not read the source material. And it's a movie relying on jump scares. How original. Marco?
Hello.
Marco?
Hello.
Yeah, so it's a movie that's relying on jump scares by the looks of things. Great. All right, so that's the trailer. Let's talk about what I thought as a Peter Pan hobbyist and enthusiast. The main problem that I have so far, having watched the trailer, and when I have heard about this movie before, I've been giving it quite a lot of grace. I was hoping they were going to do something really interesting with it, really drawing on the source material, but having looked at it now, yeah, I think they are doing what I suspected from the beginning, but tried to hope they wouldn't, which is just, we're going to take the names of these characters that some people will recognize, completely make up our own story, shoehorn in these names, and yeah, claim it to be a dark reimagining, which it's just not. It's a completely different story with the same names. So yeah, that's a lack of magic in and of itself, just a lack of imagination. But moving on from that, there are two main reasons why I think that this lacks magic. Number one, literally, it lacks literal magic. We see someone's feet rise off the floor at one point, but that could be a trick, that could be them lifting themselves, we don't know what that is. There is no hint that there's actual flying or fairy dust or anything in this. This trailer hasn't given us that, and you don't get the shots of people flying out of the window. And of course, there's no Neverland. There's no magical place that you can fly off to, so there seems to be quite literally no magic. It seems to be set in the real world with no magic at all. And this, when it's supposedly a retelling of a story so rich and lush and full of magic, like Peter Pan and the World of Neverland, I have to wonder what on earth they think they're doing and why use this story at all. The second way that it doesn't seem to have any magic to it at all is, apart from the scripting, it doesn't seem to have any magic visually. Like, they've got all these things, they've got blood and gore and they've got the circus, but it doesn't seem to be being done in any sort of way that makes it look original or interesting or like a new take. A lot of it looks grainy and dark, and while that one shot of the shadow looked quite cool and some of the lighting in different places looked quite interesting, overall it just looks quite bland. It actually makes me think of the 2023 Disney live-action Peter Pan and how completely unsaturated that was and how washed out it felt. This feels like that, only instead of it being washed out and grey, it feels washed out and dark. So there's no literal magic to, by the looks of it, the story or the storytelling either. It doesn't look visually or literally magical at all. Something else that I noticed and that kind of stuck with me all the way through the trailer is this dragging down mentality. And I'm choosing to see this as a metaphor for how this movie is dragging down the name of Peter Pan and the World of the Neverland. But look at that first scene we saw where this Peter character is popping out of like a trapdoor and trying to get a kid down. It's so very Pennywise. It doesn't feel interesting or original. And especially when you compare it to the fact that Peter as a character is light and airy and breezy and all over the place, and he's trying to pull you away upwards into the air. This is just dragging down into cellars. And that's completely inherently not what the original story was about. It was about escaping into a world of fantasy and adventure and how there's darkness there as well and then coming back. And this seems to be just about dragging kids down into the darkness. And yeah, I am going to see that as a metaphor for this movie dragging down the name of Peter Pan. I'm just looking at the names of these kids on the missing posters. You've got Nevin Curley, so we've got that name in there. And then we've got Lawrence Smith, and then we've got someone called Billy Robinson, I think. So that's the only one that has a name that we recognize. So Curly is in there for some reason, just I guess to get the name in there. That's the problem I think that I'm getting at with this. What it feels like they're doing with this movie is just going, ha, remember this name? Peter Pan, Curly, Michael, Wendy, Captain Hook, Tinkerbell. Like, you know, it feels like they're just saying names to get people to go, oh, that's a thing, and they're not really doing anything with it. So yeah. I am being led to believe that this movie very easily could have been written just as a horror movie, and then it was taken and people went, oh, well, if we change this name and this name and this name and call this place the Neverland, then we can pass it off as a dark Peter Pan telling. And yeah, that feels like it's what they did. This doesn't feel like it was drawing on anything from the source material enough to be an actual retelling. It feels like it's another movie entirely that was then given new names. A bit like when they take a horror movie and they shoehorn it into a franchise and they twist the names around so that they can have it as part of a franchise. That's how this feels. Now, this is going to sound really strange to say, so bear with me here. I kind of hope that they actually do off some children in this movie, not in a horrible, gnarly, I want to see bloodshed way, just in a, they are leaning into it so very much that if it turns out that all of them are just alive and okay at the end, it's actually going to feel like a weaker concept. If you're going to do this, do it the whole hog, go all the way through, have them actually be deceased. Take them, kill them, have something be happening there, but don't wuss out on that. They've set this up as their whole concept, and I have that really bad feeling that like kids are going to have plot armor in this, and it's just going to be a case of, oh, we can get them all back and it's fine, they're just missing. I would much prefer it if they were actually deceased, and possibly this character is warped in the head somehow, and they think that by killing them they are releasing them from this world. There's a line about that in the trailer somewhere. They say that they think that they need to be... Hang on. That's it. The line was this. It's my duty to send the kids to Neverland and protect them from this world. So this is painting the picture of a very deeply disturbed person who thinks that by killing kids, he's saving them from maybe growing up and becoming sinful, something like that, or just the world in general. But then why not save the grown-ups, or are they too far gone? There's something about the childhood innocence they're trying to protect or save, something like that. So I think they really need to latch onto that and actually go with it. So it sounds really friggin' weird to say, but actually kill some kids. I hope they actually commit to that in this movie, because otherwise what was the point of that entire premise? And of course it's true to the original story. People die in the original story. Kids can die in the original story. Peter nearly dies in the original story. Wendy nearly dies in the original story. Most of the Lost Boys are nearly made to walk the plank in the original story. Wendy is believed to be dead at one point in the story. Tinkerbell also nearly dies in the story. So this idea that you can't on the Neverland, or that for some reason it wouldn't happen, no, absolutely not true. The Lost Boys, they can absolutely die and probably do, and over the years definitely have done. And so I really hope they just go with that in this movie, because if nothing else, it makes it a poorer concept. You know, we're killing kids, but we're not really, you know. So yeah, I hope they stick with it, even though it's still not a Peter Pan movie. There's also a shot of someone getting their scalp peeled off, and I'm not sure what that is about, unless it's a reference in really poor taste to Tiger Lily, because her group did that, and they took the scalps of Lost Boys as well as pirates in the original, so I don't know what that's about. Hopefully that will get explained. All right, let's formulate a theory that could save this movie then. I have one, and if this is the route they go down, I think the entire movie premise could be saved. So this is my idea, and if this is how it happens, I think this movie could actually be fine. So, the character that we keep seeing, who is called Peter, who keeps taking these kids down into the trapdoors and doing all this stuff and stabbing people, right? He has like this big burn all over his face, big, gruesome, horrible burns, right? Now, imagine that this is a former resident of the Neverland. Say it was a pirate or a member of Tiger Lily's group, or even a lost boy who just grew a little bit, right? And then something happened on the Neverland and it got set on fire. Maybe some new pirates arrived, maybe some new bad guys. Something happened and it got set alight, set ablaze, set on fire. And half of the Neverland was completely destroyed and loads of people died along with it. And that is how they got these horrible burns and scars all over their face. They ended up getting banged on the head and they managed to get onto one of the last ships leaving before the fires took over completely. Now, the island itself is probably fine, but we're never going to see the island in this movie, so it's okay, but it will take a while to recover. This person who has had the bang on the head, covered in scars and burns and everything, they wake up and the only thing that they can remember is the character Peter Pan, the name Peter Pan, the Lost Boys, and a little bit of the concept of the Lost Boys come to the Neverland and they're safe there. Something about that gets twisted around in their mind. And so because they're having this huge big mental break over everything that's just happened and the big scars and the burns on their face, their brain convinces them, I'm Peter Pan, and I must save children from horrible things that are happening. And that is why they end up going down this twisted path of taking kids to the Neverland, and they end up either joining in with this circus or building this circus that they call the Neverland, and they get kids and they kill them because they think that that's helping. That is the only premise under which I can see this working, the fact that it's not actually a Peter Pan. And then at the very end of the story, the true Peter Pan shows up and kills this person for everything that they are doing. That is a way to fix this entire movie, but I highly doubt that's the way that they're going, but I'm going to hold on to that hope. And of course, I will be going to watch this movie because apparently I like pain. When's it out again? Thank you guys for watching this video today. I would like you to know that it is entirely your fault. You kept asking me to review this trailer. You guys are making me go watch this movie. Of course, I am going to out of sheer curiosity now, but I blame you entirely. Thank you so much, as always, for engaging with my content. If you've got any thoughts, theories, and ideas, chuck them down in the comments below, and I'll see you over on TikTok too.